Most people have the sequence backwards. They think you get good first, and then you get going. They believe confidence arrives before the conversation. That skill shows up before the rep. That somewhere between studying the product, perfecting the pitch, and waiting to feel ready, the moment will come when they finally know enough to begin. It never comes, because that is not how any of this works. Skill is not built in preparation. Skill is built in motion. Confidence is not something you develop by thinking about sales. It is something you develop by doing sales over and over and over until your nervous system stops treating the approach like a threat and starts treating it like a routine. And the waiting, the planning, the over-preparing, the endless rehearsal with no action attached is not discipline. It is fear wearing the costume of discipline. It feels responsible. It feels productive. It feels like you are taking this seriously. What it actually is avoidance, and avoidance has a cost. Every day you wait to get better before you get busy is a day the gap between you and the top producers widens, not because they are more talented, not because they were born with something you weren't, but because they were in motion while you were in preparation. This is Rule 2, activity before ability. Get busy, and you will get better. Here is the science behind what actually happens when you take action before you feel ready. Your brain contains a structure called the amygdala, the threat detection center. When you attempt something unfamiliar, the amygdala fires, heart rate rises, palms dampen. The body prepares as if the situation is dangerous, and most people interpret that signal as a reason to stop, as confirmation they are not ready, as evidence that more preparation is needed. Elite performers interpret it differently. They recognize it as the signal that they are at the edge of their growth, and they step forward anyway. Because here is what the research tells us. The amygdala's response to any given stimulus diminishes with repeated exposure. Every time you approach despite the discomfort, every time you speak despite the hesitation, every time you push through the resistance and stay in the conversation, the threat signal weakens. The neural pathway strengthens. New connections form. The brain literally rewires itself through the act of doing. What felt dangerous becomes familiar. What felt familiar becomes comfortable. What felt comfortable becomes automatic. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. High performers call it getting reps in. But none of that rewiring happens in the parking lot. None of it happens in the planning stage. None of it happens while you are waiting to feel ready, because the feeling of readiness is itself a byproduct of action. You cannot think your way to it. You cannot prepare your way to it. You can only reap your way to it. So the question is never, am I ready? The question is, how many reps did I get today? Think about what this means practically. If you want to close more, you do not start by obsessing over your closing line. You do not spend another hour perfecting the objection response you have never actually used yet in a real conversation. You start by increasing your inputs, more approaches, more presentations, more follow-up calls, more direct asks. You stack volume until the mechanics become second nature, until your body knows what to do without your mind having to manage every step, and your full attention can shift from surviving the interaction to actually leading it. The top producers in every organization are rarely the most naturally talented people in the room. They are the most consistent with volume. They approach when others hesitate. They follow up when others assume the opportunity is gone. They ask when others hope. And over time, the reps compound, the skill compounds, the confidence compounds, and what looks like natural talent from the outside was actually just accumulated motion from the inside, daily, quietly, without announcement. This is the truth about mastery that most people never want to hear. You do not think your way there. You do not plan your way there. You reap your way there. In every field of elite human performance, every discipline, every domain, every craft, the path is the same. You show up, you do the work, you do it again, and over time, the work builds you into someone capable of doing it at a level that once seemed impossible. In sales, your reps are conversations. Every approach is a training session. Every presentation is a rehearsal that counts. Every follow-up call is a strengthening of the muscle. And every rejection, every door that doesn't open, every call that doesn't convert is data. Useful, necessary, irreplaceable data that no amount of preparation can give you. Now here is the dimension of this rule that most people miss entirely. Activity protects you emotionally. When you are moving at volume, When your day is full of approaches and conversations and follow-ups and asks, a single rejection loses most of its power over you because you are not attached to any one outcome. You are playing the numbers, you are running the process, and the next conversation is already seconds away. But when you have been waiting and preparing and building up courage for one big approach, that one approach carries the weight of everything you have been holding. And when it doesn't go perfectly, it can feel like confirmation that you were right to wait, that you need more time, more preparation, more certainty before you try again. That feeling is the trap, and volume is the exit. Momentum creates immunity. That is not a motivational phrase. That is a functional description of how high-performance psychology operates. The person making 10 approaches a day does not have time to be shattered by rejection number 4. They are already in conversation number 5. Rejection is an event in their day, not a verdict on their worth. So here is your standard from this point forward. Track your daily activity the way an elite athlete tracks training reps, not loosely, not approximately, precisely. How many approaches today? How many presentations? How many follow-up contacts? How many direct asks? Write the numbers down. Measure them against yesterday. Improve them tomorrow. These are your inputs, and inputs are the only thing in this game you have complete, unconditional control over. Outcomes belong to the process, results belong to the market, but inputs, activity, volume, motion, those belong entirely to you. Own them with discipline, and the outputs follow. Not always immediately, not always on a schedule you would choose, but consistently, reliably, inevitably, because production follows motion every single time. You do not need to be great to start, but you must start to become great. And starting is not a one-time decision you make on a good day when motivation is high. It is a daily recommitment to volume over hesitation, to motion over perfection, to action over readiness. The road does not reveal itself by studying a map of it. It reveals itself by walking it every day at volume without waiting for the conditions to be perfect, because the conditions will never be perfect. The only condition that matters is that you are moving. From this moment forward, activity is not what you do after you feel confident enough. Activity is how you become confident. This is Elite 21. Rule 2. Activity before ability.